Amendment 44. This amendment is proposed to ensure that the policy objective underlying the original provision in the bill is actually delivered. The intention and implications of the original provision were questioned by some commentators following the publication of the bill. It was clear from their comments that there was some confusion surrounding the provision as set out in the bill, and that's what I wanted to address. The provision, as originally drafted and included in the published bill, was designed to take account of technical developments since the 97 Act became law, insofar, in particular, as the searching for and extracting records from data banks is concerned. We had some discussion about this, if deputies recall, at second stage. The provision was intended to confirm that FOI bodies are required to take reasonable steps to search for and extract electronic data using the search and extraction facility it's available to, but they are not required to develop new programs or codes to interrogate databases. Since the current Act is silent on the issue, public bodies have found it necessary on occasion to have programs coded to meet particular FOI requests, which often do not seek particular official records, but rather request information that can sometimes only be obtained by interrogating data banks of official information requiring analysis of the records contained. In addition, the current legislation provides for access to official records which are in existence and do not require the creation of new records. This provision can in fact represent an impediment to responding to FOI requests, as the arguments could be made that extracting information from a data bank or of necessity requires the creation of a new record, because the mere extracting is a new record, therefore it's not an existing record. In order to continue to provide access to the extracted data from data banks of electronic records, the amendment allows, this proposed amendment allows bodies to reproduce the relevant data into a new record, and in such cases, the record shall be deemed to have been created on the date of the request. So it would be captured by the request. The amendment which I am proposing is intended to make the same provision, but it uses more straightforward text.
Just before I bring you your deputy on here, just noting the time there is coming up to 6 o'clock, and just on the basis that we might try to complete the bill this evening, could I propose that we would take maybe a 35-minute break upon the completion of section 17, if that's agreed?
35 minutes?
35 minutes.
Sorry, you said 5 minutes.
Yeah, we could.
9 o'clock.
I'm just looking at once we move beyond section 17, there's about 2 or 3 other bits that will require time, and I would like to take all that together. So, so if we can maybe on the completion of 17.
The one we're on now.
The one we're on now.
Right, okay.
Okay, that's agreeable. Thank you. Deputy Donnelly.
Thanks, Chair. And thanks, Minister, for that. I had a technical question around this.
You're asking a non-techie person.
Sorry.
Electronically technical.
Sorry. Let's say we've got some big database or set of databases, relational database, and there is some coding required to extract the information. Let's say a SQL code is required. It could be fairly straightforward, few lines. Think of it as a few lines of. Think of it as a few.
It's all right.
SQL is.
Is that a sequential code? Is it?
That's a sequence. It's a query language, specific query language, SQL. So it's something that's.
Keep going there, Deputy.
It's a type.
Wait a moment.
It's a type of coding that is used to extract information from large data sets, right? So my concern with this is that it says if you've got a large data set. And if pulling the information from that data set requires writing a few lines of code, which is the small program that goes and finds that information, if that code hasn't already been written, then under this amendment, it would not be required to be written. Am I understanding this correctly?
I'm afraid, as I said, you're talking to somebody who's very on-techie, but I mean, the intention is that the mechanism to interrogate data and create a new database by doing that will not exempt the new database from being released. But what is reasonable in terms of doing this, I don't know whether there are technical issues that are so unreasonable that you'd have to write a new code that's so burdensome that would be excluded. But I'll ask somebody technical to respond to you on that.
Would you? Yeah, I'm sure it's not the intention, but it just, where it says, being steps that involve the use of any facility for electronic search or extraction, that existed on the date of the request.
Yeah.
So if someone comes along and says, we've got all of this data, but actually there's 20 lines of new code required to get it.
No,
What I want to ensure is that they then say, well, look, that's a new tool and I don't have to create that, therefore you're not getting the data.
It's not.
Is it if the tool existed?
No, the data exists.
Yeah.
The mechanism to extract the data is what you're talking about.
That's right.
I presume that would be fully covered by the. Yeah. The issue is reasonableness. That's what I'm pointed out to me. You know, if it is extraordinarily convoluted and complicated to write a new code to get at the data or to extract the data in a way, that is a reasonable line for refusal.
Yeah.
But normal interrogation, and I don't know the systems you're talking about, but that is normal interrogation systems that could extract the data and provide it for you by creating a new record is perfectly provided for.
Right. So just to be clear, if if an entire new program is required that requires months of coding,
Yeah.
fine. But if it's just a few lines of code, a reasonable amount of code, that's new code, that's not grounds to refuse an FOI request. Is that right?
That's captured by the notion that it's reasonable to do it.
Yeah.
The notion of reasonableness, that it's not,
Yeah.
you don't have to get an IBM to write a new system for you.
Yeah, okay. As long as you see one,
You just got an AT lesson, you have a question?
I'm just, great. I just want to be sure that, one person coming up with 10 new lines of code might be highly unreasonable. To someone else, it's about 10 minutes work, that basically new code, a new search algorithm is required to extract information falls within an FOI request. No FOI request is going to be refused on those grounds.
If that's a matter of normal usage, that's
Yeah, it is. All right.
Just kind of give some simplicity. A database is designed for the purposes of extracting information. So if a question goes in, it should be extractable. If there is a difficulty with extracting information over a database, there's questions as to the viability of the database.
Chair. Well, talk to you outside about it.
Okay, Deputy Mary Lou MacDonald.
the chair is
Please do not open up that conversation. We're here for months. I support this amendment, and I think it's much more tightly drafted than what was there before, and it certainly answers the concern that I had, and the reason why I brought my amendment number 46. So I'll be withdrawing that one at the appropriate time.
Thank you very much. Okay. The Minister has moved the amendment. Someone asked the question that the amendment be made.